Hello everyone, welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Lexi Alligood and I am a recent convert to Catholicism. This is the first of many videos I'm going to be making of this new YouTube series where I will be reading through the story of a soul by Saint Therese of Lisieux with you all. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in. But wait, before we hop in, if you're new to this channel and you enjoyed this content by the end of this video, please hit that subscribe button, that like button, and maybe even leave a comment down below because anything helps. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into Chapter 1, The Story of a Soul, Early Childhood. Chapter 1, Early Childhood. My dearest mother, it is to you who are in fact a mother twice over to me, that I now confide the story of my soul. The day you asked me to do it, I thought it might be a distraction to me, but afterwards Jesus made me realize that simple obedience would please him best. So I'm going to begin singing what I shall sing forever, the mercies of the Lord. Psalm 88:1. Before taking up my pen, I knelt before the statue of Mary, the one which has given us so many proofs that the Queen of Heaven watches over us, a mother. I begged her to guide my hand so that I should write only what would please her. Then, opening the Gospels, my eyes fell on these words: Jesus, going up into a mountain, called unto him whom he would himself. Mark 3:13. The mystery of my vocation, of my entire life, and above all, of the special graces Jesus has given me, stood revealed. He does not call those who are worthy, but those he chooses to call. As St. Paul says, God will have mercy on whom he will have mercy. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. Romans 9:15-16. For a long time I had wondered why God had preferences, why he did not give the same degree of grace to everyone. I was rather surprised that he should pour out such extraordinary graces on great sinners like St. Paul, St. Augustine, and so many others, forcing his grace on them, so to speak. I was rather surprised, too, when reading the lives of the saints, to find our Lord treating certain privileged souls with a great tenderness from the cradle to the grave, removing all obstacles from their upward path to him, and preserving the radiance of their baptismal robe from the stains of sin. Also, I wondered why so many poor savages die without even hearing our Lord's name. Jesus chose to enlighten me on this mystery. He opened the book of nature before me, and I saw that every flower he has created has a beauty of its own, that the splendor of the rose and the lily's whiteness do not deprive the violet of its scent, nor make less ravishing the daisy's charm. I saw that if every little flower wished to be a rose, nature would lose her spring adornments, and the fields would be no longer enameled with their varied flowers. So it is in the world of souls, the living garden of the Lord. It pleases him to create great saints, who may be compared with the lilies or the rose, but he has also created little ones, who must be content to be daisies or violets, nestling at his feet to delight his eyes when he should choose to look at them. The happier they are to be as he wills, the more perfect they are. I saw something further, that our Lord's love shines out just as much through a little soul who yields completely to his grace as it does through the greatest. True love is shown in self-abasement, and if everyone were like the saintly doctors who adorn the church, it would seem that God had not far enough to stoop when he came to them. But he has in fact created the child, who knows nothing and can only make feeble cries, and the poor savage, with only the natural law to guide him, and it is to hearts such as these that he stoops. What delights him is the simplicity of these flowers of the field, and by stooping so low to them, he shows how infinitely great he is. Just as the sun shines equally on the cedar and the little flower, so the divine sun shines equally on everyone, great and small. Everything is ordered for their good, just as in nature the seasons are so ordered that the smallest daisy comes to bloom at its appointed time. I expect you will be wondering, Mother, where all of this is supposed to be leading, for so far I have not given you anything that looks much like my life story, but you did tell me to write quite freely whatever came into my head. So you will not find my actual life in these pages so much as my thoughts on the graces our Lord has given me. I have reached the stage now where I can afford to look back. In the crucible of trials from within and without, my soul has been refined, and I can raise my head like a flower after a storm and see how the words of the psalm have been fulfilled in my case. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall want nothing. He hath made me to lie in pastures green and pleasant. He hath led me gently beside the waters. He hath led my soul without fatigue. Yea, though I should go down into the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou, O Lord, art with me. Psalm 22:1-4. Yes, the Lord hath always been compassionate and gentle with me, slow to punish and full of mercy. Psalm 102:8. I feel really happy just to be able to tell you, Mother, of all the wonderful things He has done for me. Remember, I am writing for you alone the story of the little flower gathered by Jesus, and so I can speak unreservedly, not bothering about the style nor about the digressions I shall make. A mother's heart always understands, even when her child can do no more than lisp, so I'm quite sure that you, who prepared my heart and offered it to Jesus, will certainly do so. If a little flower could talk, it seems to me it would say what God has done for it, quite simply and without concealment. It would not try to be humble by saying it was unattractive and without scent, that the sun had destroyed its freshness or the wind its stem, when all the time it knew it was quite the opposite. This flower, in telling her story, is happy to make known all the gifts that Jesus has given her. She knows quite well that He could not have been attracted by anything she had of her own. Purely out of mercy, He gave these gifts. It was He who caused her to be born on soil which had been abundantly blessed, where 8 radiant lilies already bloomed, and where the fragrance of purity was ever about her. In His love, He wished to preserve her from the world's foul breath, and her petals were scarcely open when He transplanted her to the mountain of Carmel, to Mary's garden of delight. Having told you so briefly what God has done for me, I will tell you in detail of my childhood. Now, it may seem rather a dull story here and there, I know, but as you shared it all as I grew up at your side, as we shared the same saintly parents and together enjoyed their tenderness and care, I am sure it will not be without charm to your maternal heart. I only hope they will bless their youngest child now and help her to sing the divine mercies. The story of my soul, before I entered Carmel, can be divided into 3 definite periods. The first, though a short one, is rich in memories and extends from the dawn of reason to Mother's death, or in other words, until I was 4 years and 8 months old. God graced me with intelligence at a very early age, and He so engraved the events of my childhood on my memory that it seems they happened only yesterday. Jesus wished no doubt that I should know and appreciate what a wonderful mother He had given me. But sad to say, it was not long before His divine hand took her from me to be with Him in heaven. He has surrounded me with love all my life. The first things I can remember are tender smiles and caresses, and while surrounding me with all this love, He gave me a warm and sensitive heart to respond to it. No one can imagine how I loved Father and Mother. I showed my affection for them in thousands of ways, for I was very demonstrative, and I can't help smiling even now when I think of some of the means which I used. You let me keep the letters which Mother sent you when you were a boarder at the Visitation Convent of Le Mans. I remember quite clearly the incidents they referred to, but it is much easier just to quote certain passages of these charming letters. Dictated by a mother's love, they are often far too flattering to me. As an example of the way I used to show my affection for my parents, take this letter of Mother's. Baby is such a little imp. In the midst of caressing me, she wishes I were dead. Poor darling Mamma, I do wish you were dead. She is quite astonished when I scold her, and excuses herself by saying, "It's only because then you will go to heaven. You told me that you have to die to go there." In the same way, she wishes her father were dead when her love gets the better of her. The little darling never wants to leave me. She always keeps close by me and loves to follow me about, especially when I go out into the garden. She refuses to stay when I am not there and cries so much that she has to be brought in. Similarly, she will not go upstairs by herself without calling to me at each step, "Mother, Mother!" As many mothers as there are steps, and if by chance I forget to answer even once, "Yes, darling," she stops just where she is and won't go up or down. I was almost 3 when she wrote, "Little Therese asked me the other day if she is going to heaven." "Yes, if you're good, darling," I replied. "If I am not," she said, "I suppose I shall go to hell. If so, I know what I will do. I will fly away to you because you will be in heaven. Then you will hold me tight in your arms. God could not take me away then." I could see by her face that she was quite sure God could not do anything to her if she were hidden in her mother's arms. Marie loves her little sister dearly. She is such a joy to all of us and so utterly sincere. It is charming to see her running after me to confess, "Mother, I pushed Celine once and smacked her once, but I won't do it again." As soon as she has done the least thing wrong, everyone has to know about it. Yesterday, by accident, she tore a little corner off the wallpaper and got into a pitiful state. She wanted to tell her father about it as soon as possible. By the time he came home 4 hours later, everyone else had forgotten all about it, but she ran to Marie, saying, "Quick, tell father that I tore the paper." She stood like a criminal awaiting sentence, but she had gotten the idea into her little head that he would forgive her more easily if she accused herself. Father's name naturally brings back certain very happy memories. When he came home, I always used to run up to him and seat myself on one of his boots. He would then walk about with me like this wherever I wished, about the house and out in the garden. Mother used to laugh and say he would do whatever I wanted. "That is as it should be," he replied. "She is the queen." Then he used to take me in his arms, lift me up high to sit on his shoulder, and make a tremendous fuss over me. But I can't say he spoiled me. I remember one day very well. I was playing on the swing when he happened to be going by, and he called out to me, "Come and give me a kiss, my little queen." I did not want to move, and, what was quite unlike me, answered mischievously, "You will have to come over here for it, father." He was wise enough to take no notice. Marie was there. "You naughty little thing," she said. "How can you be so rude to your father? Get off at once." I did get off my swing at once. I had finally learned my lesson, and the whole house echoed with my cries of contrition. I ran upstairs, and this time I did not call Mother at every step. I thought only of finding Father and making everything up, and that did not take very long. I couldn't bear to think I had hurt my darling parents and used to admit my faults at once. The following accounts of Mother's will show how true this was. One morning I wanted to kiss little Therese before going downstairs, but she seemed to be sound asleep, and I did not want to wake her, until Marie said, "Mother, I'm sure she is only pretending to be asleep." I stooped down close to kiss her, but she hid herself under the sheet and said with the air of a spoiled child, "I don't want anyone to see me." I was far from being pleased, and let her know it. Not 2 minutes had gone by before I heard crying, and soon, to my surprise, there she was by me. She had gotten out of her bed by herself and stumbled all the way downstairs in her bare feet, wearing a nightgown far too long for her. Her little face was covered with tears, and burying her head in my lap, she cried, "Oh, Mother, I've been very bad. Please forgive me." She was forgiven at once. I took my little angel into my arms, held her to my heart, and showered kisses on her. I remember how very fond I was of my grandmother, who had just finished at the visitation. Without showing it, I took in everything that was going on around me and all that was said, and I think I passed the same sort of judgment on things as I do now. I listened very carefully to everything she taught Celine and used to do whatever she told me, if only she would let me stay in the room while lessons were going on. In her turn, she was always giving me presents, and though they were not of much value, they gave me immense pleasure. I was very proud of my two big sisters, but you seemed far away, so I used to dream of you from morning till night. When I was just beginning to talk, Mother used to ask me, "What are you thinking about?" And my answer was always the same, "Pauline." Sometimes I heard it said that you were going to be a nun, and without quite knowing what that meant, I said to myself, "I shall be a nun too." That is one of the first things I can remember, and I have never changed my mind since. So it was your example which drew me to the Spouse of Virgins when I was only 2. I could tell you so much of what you have meant to me, Mother, only I am afraid I shall never stop. Darling Leonie had a big place in my heart too, and she loved me. When she came home from school in the evening, she used to take care of me while everyone else went for a walk. Even now I can almost hear the little songs she used to sing so sweetly to lull me to sleep. I can remember her first communion very clearly, and I can remember her companion too. She was poor, and following the custom of the well-to-do families of Alençon, Mother had dressed her. This child did not leave Leonie's side for a moment that wonderful day, and at the grand dinner in the evening she was given the place of honor. I was too young to stay up, unfortunately, but I was not left out of the feast altogether, for Father, out of the goodness of his heart, came up to me during the dessert to bring his little queen a piece of the first communion cake. Last of all, I must tell you about Celine, who shared my childhood. I have so many memories of her that I do not know which to choose first. We both understood each other perfectly, but I was more lively and much less naive than she was. Here is a letter which will remind you how good Celine was. It was when I was about 3 and Celine 6.5. Celine seems to be quite naturally good, but as for the other little monkey, I don't know what is to become of her. She is such a little madcap. She is intelligent enough, but not nearly so docile as her sister. When she says no, nothing can make her change, and she can be terribly obstinate. You could keep her down in the cellar all day without getting a yes out of her. She would rather sleep there. I had one fault Mother does not mention in her letters. I was very proud, and here are only 2 examples of it. One day, wishing to see just how far my pride would take me, she said to me laughingly, "If you will kiss the ground, Therese, I will give you a halfpenny." A halfpenny was a fortune to me in those days, and I did not have to stoop far to get it. I was so small that the ground was quite near. All the same, my pride was up in arms, and drawing myself up to my full height, I replied, "No, Mother, I'd rather go without the halfpenny." The other time was when we were going to visit some friends in the country. Mother told Marie to put on my nicest dress, but not to let me have my arms bare. I did not say a word, and tried to seem as indifferent about it as I should have been at that age, but inwardly I was saying to myself, why? I should look so much prettier if I had my arms bare. With tendencies like these, had I not been brought up by such wonderful parents, I am quite sure I should have gone from bad to worse and probably ended up by losing my soul. But Jesus was watching over his little bride and drew good even out of her faults, for as they were corrected very early, they helped her to grow more and more perfect. I had a love for virtue, but I was proud too, so I only had to be told once, "You mustn't do that," and I never wanted to do it again. I am glad to see from Mother's letters that I became more of a consolation to her as I grew older. With the only good example about me, it was only natural that I should tend to follow it. This is how she wrote in 1876. Even Therese wants to start making sacrifices now. Marie has given each of the little ones a chaplet on which they can count of their good deeds. They have real spiritual conferences together. It is most amusing. Celine asked the other day, "How can God get into such a little host?" Therese answered her, "It's not surprising, since our Lord is almighty." What does almighty mean? It means he can do whatever he wants. But the most charming thing of all is to see Therese slip her hand into her pocket time and time again and move a bead along as she makes some sacrifice. These 2 children are inseparable and quite happy to be alone together. Not so long ago, their nurse gave Therese a small bantam cock and hen. She gave the cock to her sister at once. After dinner every evening, Celine goes and catches the 2 birds, and then they sit together in the corner of the fireplace and play for hours. One morning, Therese decided to climb out of her own little bed and go and sleep in Celine's. When the maid, who was looking for her to dress her, found her there, she put her arms around her sister and, hugging her tight, said, "Let me stay here, Louise. Can't you see we are all just like the little white chickens? We must always be together." It was quite true. I could not bear to be parted from Celine, and would rather leave the table before I had finished my dessert than let her go without me. I would fidget about in my high chair, wanting to get down at once so that we could go and play together. Because I was still too little to go to Sunday Mass, Mother used to stay and look after me. I was very good and quiet as a mouse until I heard the door open. Then, simply bursting with joy, I rushed over to my darling sister, saying, "Quickly, Celine, give me the blessed bread." One day she had not brought any. What could be done? I could not go without it, for this little feast was my Mass. I had a wonderful idea. "You haven't any blessed bread? Very well then, make some." She took the bread out of the cupboard and cut off a little piece. Then, having solemnly recited a Hail Mary over it, she presented it to me triumphantly. Making the sign of the cross, I ate it with great devotion and was quite sure it tasted like the real blessed bread. Another day, Leonie, who thought she had outgrown playing with dolls, came to look for us both, carrying a basket full of their dresses, little bits of material, and other curiosities, with her doll laid on top. "Here, my dears," she said to us, "choose what you want." Celine examined them all and took a ball of silk braid. After a moment's thought, I put out my hand, saying, "I choose everything," and carried off the basket, doll and all, without more ado. I think this trait of my childhood characterizes the whole of my life, and when I began to think seriously of perfection, I knew that to become a saint, one had to suffer much, always aim at the perfection, and forget oneself. I saw that one could be a saint in varying degrees, for we are free to respond to our Lord's invitation by doing much or little in our love for him. To choose, that is, among the sacrifices he asks. Then, just as before, I cried, I choose everything. My God, I do not want to be a saint by halves. I am not afraid to suffer for your sake. I only fear doing my will. So I give it to you and choose everything you will. But I am forgetting, Mother. I am supposed to be only 3 or 4, and here I am talking about my adolescence. I remember a dream I had at that age which left a very deep impression. I was walking alone in the garden when suddenly I saw 2 horrible little devils near the arbor, dancing on a barrel of lime with amazing agility, in spite of having heavy irons on their feet. They looked at me with flaming eyes, then, as if overcome by fear, threw themselves in the twinkling of an eye to the bottom of the barrel. They escaped in some mysterious way and ran off to hide in the linen room, which opens onto the garden. When I saw how cowardly they were, I put my fears aside and went over to the window to see what they were up to. There the little wretches were, running round and round the table and not knowing how to escape my gaze. From time to time they came nearer, still very agitated, to peep through the window. Then when they saw I was still there, they began racing about again in abject misery. I do not suppose this dream was very extraordinary, but I do think God made use of it to show me that a soul in the state of grace need never be afraid of the devil, who is such a coward that even the gaze of a child will frighten him away. I was so happy at this age, Mother, not only because I was beginning to enjoy life, but also because virtue had begun to appeal to me. I think my dispositions were the same then as they are now. I had acquired considerable self-control already, for I never complained when any of my things were taken away from me, and if ever I were unjustly accused, I would keep silent rather than excuse myself. There was no real virtue in this on my part, for it came naturally. How swiftly these sunny years of childhood passed, yet what delightful memories they left behind. I love to think of the days Father used to take us to the pavilion, and most of all those Sunday walks when Mother came with us. I can still feel the deep and poetic impression which the wheat fields made on me when I saw them all studded with poppies and cornflowers and daisies. Even then I loved far distances, wide spaces, and the trees. The whole of nature, in fact, enchanted me and raised my soul toward heaven. During these long walks we often met poor people, and much to her delight, it was always little Thérèse who was sent to give them alms. On the other hand, much to her disgust, she was often taken home when Father thought the walk too long for his little queen. However, Celine used to fill her little basket with daisies and bring them home to console her. The whole world smiled on me. Wherever I went, my path was strewn with flowers, and my own happy nature helped to make life all the more delightful, but a new period was soon to begin. Since I was to become the spouse of Jesus so young, I had to suffer from childhood. Spring flowers begin to grow beneath the snow before they open to the sun, and the little flower I am writing about had to pass through the winter of trial and have her fragile calyx watered with the dew of tears. Thank you all so much for reading chapter 1 of The Story of a Soul, Early Childhood with me. I hope that you were able to gain some incredible insights on St. Therese of Lisieux. I am so excited to be here with you all completing this series, and I hope that you all have a blessed and wonderful day.